Hey, this is Gecko Mayhem, and this is a long overdue Godforge video. It has been a long time since I put a video out about Godforge, or any video in that regard. There has been a lot of news over the last few weeks, possibly months, since my last video. Since Beta 1, really, there has been quite a bit of movement in the Godforge space. We know that Beta 2 is coming in December. That's still off in the distance, but it is coming and we have a time frame. We have seen all of the improvements that they have been making, both behind the scenes and in different dev builds. The game is shaping up so well right now. There's a new Sanctum coming, not for the beta, but there is a new Sanctum coming. They're completely rethinking that within a 3D space. There have been model updates, there have been lighting updates, there have been camera updates, there have probably been sound updates, there's been discussion around lore, there's a complete change to the campaign, the flow of the campaign with the different nodes and the sub-nodes. There's so much. And today, I am going to be looking at the latest Godforge video that Simon put out. I think it is about imprints, that's all I know. Let's get into it.
The weapons weren't really doing what we wanted them to do. They really were just acting as a bit of a stat stick.
Yeah,
so
they
we
were.
wanted to change them. So the first thing we're doing is we're making weapons have an ability. We're actually going to enable you to get 2 rolls of sets from attuning your weapon. We're going to have like rarity rolls for the different nodes.
What?
An imprint, once it's on, it feels like it's too scary a thing to do.
Yeah.
Because I can never get it back again.
That's right, you're risking it.
So we are
yeah.
going to allow the ability to rip off an imprint.
Everything is subject to change.
Hey guys, this is
Hey, Simon.
from Fateless. Today we're going to be talking all things weapons for the upcoming beta. Lots of changes actually. We actually got a ton of feedback from you guys around weapons and imprints.
Let me just adjust my camera. I look way bigger than Simon. Look at this. Hey. I'm going to leave that in. That's funny. That is funny. All right, let me just adjust my webcam and we'll get back into it.
Generally, people really loving the customizability, if that's a word, of imprints, the ability to really
use them.
customize a build, change the way you would use a hero in different content because of imprints. And if you're new to Godforge, then any hero in the game, you can actually basically extract their imprint. If I go into the Crucible here, I can extract somebody's imprint, and that becomes a passive ability that I can apply to any weapon in Godforge, therefore giving any hero this passive.
Yeah,
so it means that you've got almost like millions of kind of like permutations in terms of how you can customize different heroes in the game. So this part we felt like was working well, but the weapons weren't really doing what we wanted them to do. They really were just acting as a bit of a stat stick in the first beta. They didn't feel impactful enough. They didn't really help you justify what type of build you were going to go for. So we wanted to change that. We wanted to make sure that weapons really feel like something special to collect. There's a couple other things as well. So farming weapons, in fact it's changed for this, but Hag's Hollow or the Forge of Brockier, you would farm resources, and then you would come in to the smithy and you would craft weapons. So you basically forge your weapons, and so this is the current system. We're going to change it up. So what do we want to do? Oh wow, I actually got a legendary. Nice. I didn't expect that. This is all bloated. Don't worry about bugs right now. What we want to do is we want for weapons to be something which drops way more frequently. So when you're in those
actual drops,
and you're farming weapons, they're going to be dropping from the dungeon.
Actual
You'll get
weapon
resources
drops.
which come from the dungeon as well, which enable you to sort of change things up on weapons.
Cool.
But we want them to be really way more impactful. We want them to have like a place in combat. So the first thing we're doing is we're making weapons have an ability. So if I was to come into battle, right now we've got this like placeholder piece in, also got placeholder changes of campaign going in, so don't worry too much about visuals right now. Loads of stuff is changing in the game. But I have got on my hero here Excalibur equipped, and we're able to go into battle. Again, we're just in like testing phases right now, but you can just about see it bottom right. It's not actually sort of set up properly, but you can see here I've got Excalibur. It's a weapon. It's got a description,
It'll have a description,
but it's also got an active ability now. So I can choose on my turn do I use the abilities of my heroes, or do I drop in Excalibur? And this is a very dev-based visual right now, but ultimately I use it as an ability. So and when I come back to my hero, so they'll have cooldowns like any other ability. Some will be long, some will be short.
Yep.
But I can choose to use my weapon ability instead of using my actual hero ability. This might be a good solution when abilities are on cooldown. You haven't got your ultimate yet. You've used your core. You don't really want to use your basic, but you can use your weapon to drop some damage. That's something we're playing around with. There's a lot of different abilities that are going to come in for beta 2, and you'll be able to use weapons as an active ability in combat while still having an imprint attached, which will give you the imprint quality. So
he might go into this in the video, but I want to say up front, it's a cool idea, right? It is very cool to have active abilities on a weapon and you can activate that weapon. It's a bit like having, say, an on-use piece of armor or trinket in World of Warcraft, where this on-use gives you something and then it has a cooldown. In this case, obviously, it's a multi-turn cooldown. However, I don't like the idea of the weapon shooting out of the sky. I don't know if that's going to be just Excalibur, because we expect Excalibur to come flying out of the sky, or Colored Bulg come flying out of the sky. I don't like that. I don't think the weapon should come shooting down out of the sky. I think that if they could do it, it would be great if the character actually switched to that weapon in their hand. So if it's a spear, and they normally carry a dagger, like Shtabay here, it would switch from that dagger to a spear in their hand, and they would actually use that weapon as if it were their weapon, as if they'd summoned this weapon into their hand as an alternative weapon. Now that would be cool, graphically, visually, from a mechanical point of view, from a skills point of view, and also as a kind of faction or lore crossover. So you have this mingling of the two types of lore, the lore of the weapon and the lore of the faction that the character belongs to. I think that would be a much better way of doing it.
We're trying to make sure that all feels good. There's actually a lot more stuff we're changing in weapons, so I'm going to go over now to some of the sort of mock-up UI UX
weapon
stuff.
skill tree.
It's not in the game yet. It's going to be fitting over the next couple of weeks. But in the gear slot here, so you can see if I go into attunement, we're actually going to enable you to get 2 rolls of sets from attuning your weapon. So what does that mean? It means that I could change the type of builds that I'm going to do based on the rolls that I get of my weapon drops. So in this instance here, you can see that we have got a roll for Slayer and a roll for Disruptor coming off Mjolnir here. So basically, when I attune, I'm going to get these set bonuses joining my account. This means you're going to have more options to get different sets or hit the sort of top level of sets without needing to max out all of the gear in those sets. We think this could be a fun mechanic. Obviously, attunement is kind of like a cost in the game. So I can attune all of my gear, which is going to give me stats for gear, but for weapons, it's going to give you 2 slots.
That's interesting.
Gear rolls. It just gives it like a different element to it, I guess. The other thing which we're going to have is the ability to basically, you get your sort of main ability, which is going to be your active in game, which is going to feel way more like a core ability in our game. So that's there. You have your imprint here. You're also going to have these kind of like tree. In fact, maybe I'll just show you the very basic mock-up of the tree. So we want it to be fairly simple to make decisions, but we want for you to make valuable decisions as you rank up your weapon based on the type of build that you want to do. So you'll start here with reducing its cooldown, and then you're going to have 5 more nodes that you can select as you rank up your weapon. So what does this mean? Basically means that depending on the type of build you're going to do, I could choose speed, faith, resistance, accuracy, and crit. And I could be like, I just want to take those top ones. I could go speed into crit, into HP, into attack. Any sort of permutation you want, you'll be able to choose as long as there is a line connecting those nodes. So pretty much you can choose the type of growth for your weapon that you're going to have. Now, because we're dropping...
I take it he means each time your weapon is leveled up, because you have from 1 star to 6 star, you unlock a new node. So when it's a 1-star weapon, you'd unlock the reduced cooldown. For example, they'll probably give every weapon its own unique tree. And then each time you unlock a star on the weapon, by upgrading that weapon 10 levels and then using materials to upgrade it, you unlock another node. That's the way I envisage it, because he says there are 6 total, and that makes sense, right? There are 6 stars.
Popping a lot more weapons, and they're not going to be just, you're not farming resources to get a bit of luck of rolling a weapon. We have to have some variability here so that you still get those wow moments like, damn, I've got an Excalibur and it's a really cool version of Excalibur. We have to have that, otherwise you'll get an Excalibur and then the game will be done and dusted in no time. You'll be bored. So how are we going to try and look to do this? We're going to have like rarity rolls for the different nodes. So it might be like, I just want Excalibur because the active ability is super cool. That's really where we want people thinking. You then put your imprint on, which should help you with your build. And then this is like icing on the cake. Did I get high level rolls in the areas that I want? There was a couple of bits of feedback from the beta that we're trying to adjust as well. So firstly, an imprint, once it's on, it feels like it's too scary a thing to do because I can never get it back again. So we are going to allow the ability to rip off an imprint, but it's going to be a cost. And we're going to play around with that in the second beta so that we'll see how often people are doing it. Is it something people want to do? And we can adjust like what the currency looks like after that. But we are going to allow that to happen in beta 2. We still want it to be like a meaningful decision. Otherwise, you could just rip off an imprint and reuse it. Rip off an imprint, reuse it. And then there's never that kind of like goal to go and try and find cool imprints. And we want imprints to be like a really, something that you go after. Like if there's an event where there's an imprint as a reward, we want for you to feel like that's a cool reward. So
exactly.
There's still going to be a cost to it and there's still going to be a decision to make, but it should be less kind of like, this is the end of my account if I make this decision wrongly type of vibe. So that's something which we want to play around with. We're also looking at basically being able to recast some of these nodes. If you get a cool weapon, but you don't get the node you want, once you've maxed out a weapon, there'll be like a recast option. So again, it'll be like a currency that you farm from the weapon dungeons, and you'll be able to try and sort of push on for something better. But we do want for the nodes to, in terms of like percentage to get the really good ones, they're going to be a much higher chance to get like a legendary node on a legendary weapon, for example.
Right,
so that there is this kind of like push factor to try and get more legendary items. They should feel stronger. It doesn't mean that the epic ones are not going to use it. In fact, they don't have a lot of use in the game. And the rare ones are, again,
even rares,
your heroes. So yeah, lots of change, honestly. Lots going on. We want it to feel like a really cool system. We already think the imprint system is good. We're changing up a bunch of imprints as well to make that feel even better. But yeah, we definitely want for weapons to sort of come over for you guys to be a really sort of cool system. So you can see the icons down here. This is basically reflecting the nodes that you choose from your tree here. So that's what's going to be reflected on this part. And then obviously I can go in and upgrade. I can attune. It's going to give me information about what I've done there. It's going to give me information about what I've gained from my nodes here. Don't know if there's anything else to really sort of talk you through on that. Obviously, if I choose a different weapon, I might lose weapon set bonuses because of the fact that currently I haven't attuned this one. There's a lot. I don't know if I can equip it in this like mock-up, but there's now a lot more customizable sort of fields. Hopefully, without it feeling too overwhelming. We tried to make sure that it still feels good for a player to understand that the weapon should be like an extension of your hero.
Yes.
But we already understand sets by this point. Imprints will be a new thing to learn, but it'll be cool and fun. And then like the node system
weapon upgrades
is really just going to enable you to sort of pick additional stats which will make sense for the type of build that you're trying to do. So let me know what you think down below. But yeah, lots of changes coming to weapons in the next beta, and I'll see you in the next video.
And there you have it. That is a breakdown of what they are changing with weapons. I like the idea of having attribute bonuses set bonuses, I mean. So the set bonuses like Slayer and Guardian and all those different bonuses that come on armor when you have 2, 4, or 6 armor pieces, you can actually supplement that with 2 on the weapon. So let's say you have 3 Slayer pieces in your armor, and then you have +1 Slayer on your weapon, then you've got double the Slayer, right? You've got 2 Slayer plus 2 Slayer kind of thing. Unless Slayer becomes 2, 4, 6. I think it's just 2 at the moment, and I saw that it went up to 6 there. For example, it's just an example, right? So that's kind of cool. That's a cool change. I like the idea that they have their own skill tree in a way. That is cool. It could be a little overwhelming between imprints and skill trees and getting armor and understanding armor sets and all of that, and deciding between stats and armor sets. That could be a little bit overwhelming for people. But I guess we'll see whether people latch onto that and understand everything that's going on there with the changes to the weapons. I like the visual updates in terms of a hub coming up with the chains to show what's connected, so you see what your bonus is from your armor, and then you see your weapon connected there. That's kind of cool to see stuff like that, where it is linking things. Attunement is going to be much bigger for weapons, as he said. It's going to actually feel impacting. And like I said earlier, I think that activating your weapon when it has an active skill should actually give the character the weapon, and they should use that weapon against the enemy instead of this weapon flying out of the sky and doing something. I know that it's, hey, a powerful weapon comes along and it does its weapon thing. It'd be so much cooler if they actually wielded the weapon and used it in a way. All in all, it's great to hear what's being updated, what's being changed, the innovation behind stuff, the USPs, unique selling points, beyond just imprints. I'm so glad that you're going to be able to remove imprints, even if at a cost. It's going to allow you to recycle imprints instead of going, hey, I've got this awesome legendary imprint, I'm going to pop it on this weapon, which is kind of a good weapon, but I don't think it's the best weapon I could have, and I just want to use this imprint in this particular area. And then you can remove that imprint when you get a better weapon and shift it across at a cost. But I think it's actually really good to give people options. Same with re-rolling the weapon tree. I think if you find that you're not getting the right things, if it's very, very mediocre for, say, a legendary weapon or even an epic weapon, if it's not the best layout that you can get, if it's really mediocre, you might want to go, I'm going to actually re-roll this. So giving a little bit more control into people's hands, a little bit more control for people to say, hey, I want to be able to change this, instead of it feeling like an absolute waste. But that's everything I have for you. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you enjoyed that video. I hope that all of this Godforge information that's coming out week to week is inspiring and uplifting and is actually hyping the game up, because we have a few months until Beta 2. Plenty more news to come, plenty more updates to come. I look forward to everything else that is coming within the Godforge space. I hope you have a nice day, and I'll see you on the next one.